Hey, my name's TC Burr. Welcome to Yet, a podcast created to encourage you to get your goal or idea out of your head and into reality. On this podcast, you'll hear stories, encouragements, tips, and ideas to help you write your book, start your business, launch your podcast, or whatever it is you hope to accomplish. Because it's not that you haven't done it, it's just that you haven't done it yet. My guest today is Carrie Murphy. Carrie, thank you so much for joining the podcast. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing very well. So typically the way that I start these podcasts is instead of me reading a bio, I actually encourage my guests to introduce themselves. So if you could, in 30 seconds or less, tell everybody kind of who you are and what you do.
First and foremost, I'm a mom. That's my main thing. I've been a stay-at-home mom for I don't even know how many years now. I'm also an Army wife, so that in itself is a full-time job. But I kind of came across being in the wellness industry, wellness space, which is really funny because I was not athletic in school or anything like that. But I feel like I'm privileged to have the benefit to walk through people's wellness with them and focus on not only their fitness and nutrition, but also the mindset piece of it, which is, to me, the key point.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned that you didn't necessarily grow up being like the athletic, the sports person. What was there like a catalytic moment or event that kind of launched you into this whole world of wellness? Or like, how did you go from, not being the athletic person to now all of a sudden this is kind of what you do?
I honestly just was I feel like I was just surviving every day, and I was really angry about it. And my husband had this amazing career that he loved, and he got up and he got excited. Even when he deployed, he was excited to deploy. I mean, he loves his job. And my kids were getting the brunt of mom being sad, mom being bummed out, mom being tense and on edge. And I was struggling to go from the bed to the couch most days. And I remember getting a Fitbit and thinking, I'm going to get all these steps in. I remember struggling to get 500 steps in. I mean, and that's just honestly doing laundry around the house. Let's be real. So I don't know. I think it was just a need. I just spent a lot of time praying to God, like, I just want to be joyful. Like, I see those people that are joyful, and I don't know if it's real or not for them, but where's my joy with so much good? I mean, I have nothing bad. I have all great things in my life. My husband, he's my best friend. We have great kids and great friends, but I just felt sad, and I felt frustrated, and I crave joy. I really crave joy.
Okay. So you have this kind of season where you recognize that you're not experiencing joy. Something's got to change. And so walk me through kind of, I know it's been years in the making, but like walk me through at a high level, like how did you start off? So you got the Fitbit, you're doing some steps, not as many as you'd like, it sounds like, but like,
Yeah.
How do you get into it from going kind of zero to where you are now?
At first, I felt like it had to be all or nothing. At first, I felt like I had to throw myself into everything. And then I met this really awesome girl on Instagram, which is funny because I don't even go on Instagram. Like, my daughter would joke and say, like, Mom, Facebook's for you. You're older. Like,
That's right.
Stay on Facebook. Instagram's for younger people like me. Like,
Yeah.
So I met this girl, and she had 4 kids. She was crazy busy. Her husband was retired Navy, and he was now a pilot, and she was home by herself and still is most days, doing life with these 4 kids. And she retired from being a teacher to stay at home and run fitness communities. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. Like,
Sure.
I'm kind of at that point, I was like, I felt God calling me just to move my body, which I was like, do you not know me at all? Like, do you not know I don't like to do this? But okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And I started to just realize that I couldn't go all in with everything and do it well. I had to kind of go step by step. And so for me, the first year looked like just committing to move my body at least 3 times a week. I mean, for like 20, 30 minutes. And building on that, I think so often people go in all in and then you burn out fast and you don't stay sustainable with it, or it doesn't stay consistent. And learning that small steps add up to big things, I think, is the key there. Having that community and having the group with Kristen teaching me those things, that it was okay to not get a workout every day. It wasn't like you were a failure. You didn't have to hit reset. You just pick it up and do it the next day when you feel like it. It's small, sustainable steps.
I love that, man. And progress is success. Like, we have this picture, I think, a lot of times that we have to, get to the mountaintop right away. But like, even just taking a step is a good thing. And that's success.
I say it all the time. Done is better than perfect. Done is
Come
better
on.
than perfect.
Yes. I love that. So you've talked a little bit about kind of mindset. And I think in your intro, you even said like, hey, the physical aspect is great, but the mindset is maybe even more important. Talk a little bit about what you mean, because I think for a lot of people, that is a hurdle that they really are having a challenge getting past. So talk about like your personal journey, your mindset shift, like how you've kind of, that's so important.
I think shifting your mindset is hard to do, but necessary. And I think that we get to choose what we want our day to look like every single day. And as a mom of three kids with a 6-year-old that likes to push my buttons quite a bit, I have to stop in the moments, when I feel myself getting that spiral or going back to that old habit of flipping out on my kids instead of like figuring it out. And you have to just like take a deep breath and go, okay, is this really that big of a deal? And how can I choose to go about this different? How can I choose to see this differently? And I'll tell you, we're all on social media now, and there's a lot of ways to see negative on it. There's a lot of ways to be fed negativity on it. And I literally went on my Facebook and I unfollowed all the moms that were complaining and fussing about their husbands or complaining about their kids, because it was almost like it was encouraging me to be like, oh, well, my kid threw a fit about doing laundry. Well, of course they did. They're a kid, right? Or I don't feel like moving my body today, and my husband's driving me crazy. When you surround yourself with that, it's like whatever you focus on grows. And so putting yourself in, you choose putting yourself in environments like that affects you, and ultimately it affects your kids. And that was the big thing I had to realize is my mindset is setting the tone for my kids' tone. Like my mindset is teaching them, and the way that I'm choosing to respond is teaching them how to respond. And I can't get mad at them if they're flipping out about too much homework and they're overwhelmed. If I'm doing it about chores around the house or maintaining my work along with my husband's life. And I think the biggest thing people need to realize is it's your choice. And despite what's happened to you, and I know people go through hard things, I'm not dismissing that, but you can choose to look at it differently. I've watched people walk through hard things in life and they chose to look at it differently, and they're better for it. So
yeah. That's awesome. And that's such good perspective. Even as you're talking, I'm thinking about, I'm a dad of young kids as well. And like, of course, I would never teach my kids like, hey, you should be negative and you should complain. But so much of what our kids learn is caught, not taught, right? Like they see it in us. I love
that. Yeah.
And they follow the examples that we, so that's super. I love that. So you talked a little bit about challenges and overcoming challenges. So I imagine that as you kind of started off in your journey, you might have run into some obstacles and challenges along the way. So talk a little bit about kind of maybe if there's a specific challenge you want to highlight, or just in general, how you kind of navigate when you get up. Because I think, when people are starting a business or starting to write a book or start whatever it is, the thing that they want to do, there's going to come a point where, man, I'm up against it, and like it's not as easy as I thought, and I'm kind of feeling like I'm bottoming out here. Like how in those moments, how do you keep going?
So my kids, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to say it wrong, because if my daughter sees it, she'll be like, Mom, that is not what I said. But my kids have said the things, and like I said, I run it's called a Fit Fam group is what we run. And the things that they say in there, I feel inadequate every day. I think we all feel inadequate. I mean, I'm not qualified whatsoever. I don't have a degree as a counselor. I don't have a degree in fitness or as a nutritionist. Like, who am I to be running a fitness group? However, when I have those moments, I go back to not the feeling that I'm feeling, but the facts that I'm creating, or the facts where I'm impacting things in my day-to-day life and in other people's lives. And that makes, like, Ryan will tell you, I cry and I throw fits and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm horrible at this, and this isn't working as fast as I want, or I'm not impacting enough people, and I said I would have this goal and I missed it. But then you go back to that one person that you really made a difference, and that you changed their life, or those two little people that, like, man, I'm so glad I have this group. I didn't have community before. And you think that everyone has community, because I'm grateful enough to have that, but so many people don't, and so many people crave that. So, but my oldest said, seeing you happy made me happy. When you were angry and sad, I was angry and sad. I feel all of your feelings. And then my middle child said, I can tell you're a lot happier than you were before you started all this, and you're funny when you take your Energize. So Energize is like a pre-workout, and the old version of me was getting up at the very last minute taking my kids to school. And typically it was like snapping in their face and scream. I mean, who wants to be woke up like that? Like, come on. Like, I was like, yeah, really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just spastic. And we were all rushing, and I sent them off every day like that. And I hate to say this, but the world's just so crazy. It killed me knowing that I rushed my kid to school. Did I hug them? Did I tell them I loved them? Did I tell them they're going to have an awesome day? Did I tell them they were capable? Did I say those things to them? Probably not. And so I made the choice with all of this to wake up early, which is so hard for me because I don't like mornings. But to wake up and have that time for me, and I'll drink my Energize, and I'll have my devotion time, and I'll check in with my group, and I'll do my workout, and then I spend time with them. Then I get them up. Then I focus on them. And I'm a lot happier now, and I don't know that they love that either. So, like, we're driving to school, and I'm, like, dancing and singing and being fun. So, my daughter's like, wow, Mom, you're crazy with Energize. They blame it on the Energize. But really,
Yeah,
it's just
sure.
the fact that Mom got up and had a moment to herself before she had to do all the things.
Yeah.
But there was this one group member, and it was over Thanksgiving, and I was feeling like maybe I'm not stepping up enough in the group. What can I do different coming up in the new year, like thinking forward? And it made me so happy to hear her say this. She said, thank you, seriously. If you were not posting and doing what you do, I don't know where I'd be. I needed something this time for my mental health, and this was it. Honestly, God works in mysterious ways. What started as a get in shape has completely helped me mentally as well. And it's not about the getting in shape anymore. And I just that fueled me. I was like, I can go back and just read that one message for the next year, and I'm doing it. Like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm in a good place.
Wow, that's how encouraging, man. So like you're like people's lives are changing as a result of the work that you're doing. That's amazing. I love that. So, you talked about getting up early, and I love how you said like, hey, I'm historically like not a morning person, but you recognize that like the season of life that you're in, like this is the time that I can have for the things I need to do, the things I want to do my devotion, contact my people, do whatever. And then you're able to give all of yourself to your kids and your husband and your family responsibilities and all of that. So I'm curious, when it comes to kind of the entrepreneurial running your show and or like your personal wellness journey, like are there any other like tips or hacks or like systems that you use to kind of keep things moving?
Oh, it's funny. I'm like the most unorganized, wannabe organized person you ever meet. So I always, when I saw this, like I was like, oh, geez. But then I was like, I do have a thing I do, and I do it so much it doesn't feel like a thing that I do.
Yeah.
But get up and make your bed. I know that sounds crazy, and I'm sure like half of these people do it already. I was the one that I was like, I'm just going to get back in it. It drove my husband crazy. He's like military. So of course he's like, fold the corners and make the bed. What are you doing?
Tuck it in the right.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? But it's having that get up and get out of bed and make the bed. And for me, it's 8 ounces of water right off the bat and sit down with my devotion. After that, like it's having a plan in place. And as far as like day to day, one thing that has just like been a game changer for me is time blocking.
Okay.
I'm such a scatterbrained person. Like I'm such a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. And being a stay-at-home mom, work from home, I can kind of do that, but it's not productive. It doesn't really work. So having that schedule where I block out hour by hour, you realize you don't have that much time. And you learn to prioritize what has to get done and what can be pushed to the next day or to the next week. And you learn to prioritize your time better. So that's been super helpful. As far as like my business, we have an abundant amount of mentorship that is available to us. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. There's so much. We actually just launched, it's called Growth Day. I don't know. I think I've sent you some stuff just for you to hear it, because I'm like, wow, why have I never, like, just to have that mentorship or that personal development, that's been big changer. I kind of listened to Brandon Bouchard before Growth Day, and I've read some of his books, but it's nice to wake up and have that, like, he calls it morning fire or daily fire. So like you wake up and you hear that right off the bat. So I typically listen to that in the shower. That, and then we have with my business called Activity Tracker, where because I could talk to people all day long. I'm an introvert, but I love to connect, and social media makes it so easy, you don't have to face to face. Yeah, it's so easy. And so I really get to know people. It's crazy. Like, you wouldn't think you get to know people off social media, but you do. And so it helps me track who I'm talking to and what we talked about and how to follow back up with them. It might be, I'm getting ready to have a baby and I've got a lot going on. I'm overwhelmed. Hey, would a couple recipes help you out? Like, it helps me to track and make sure that I'm connecting, and that whether it be they want to sign up as a challenger, or they want to, jump into the business with me and make their journey their job too, like I've done, or whether they just need some support and they just need someone to check in. You just never know what people are going through. And 9 times out of 10, I'm just, hey, you good today? Like, you seemed off, or your post the other day was kind of made me a little, I just felt like, I felt that tug to check on you. You good? I think those things are helpful.
So how did I go from 0 to a completely finished draft of my book in just a few months? Well, I did it the way that most people accomplish their goals. I had a vision of where I wanted to go, and I rolled up my sleeves and started working. But as I looked back at my process, I realized I actually followed a pretty simple 5-step formula to accomplish my goal. And since I've kind of made that realization, I've used that same framework with many other goals in my life, and I've seen amazing success. So I want to share with you the process, 5 steps to supercharge your goal. I think it translates well across any goal, any idea. I would love to share it with you for absolutely free. So I'll give you a free download. Go to my Instagram. It's Yet Podcast. Click the link in my bio and you should see 5 steps to supercharge your goals. I would love to share this with you, and I hope you have as much success with it as I have. Thanks. Well, and how meaningful is that to the person, right? Like if you're reaching out, maybe we talked 2 weeks ago and I shared something with you, or I posted about something, and you follow up and say, hey, tell me, you talked about this thing last week or 2 weeks ago. Like that just makes me feel heard and important, and like somebody's out there caring for me, which is like in the world that we live in, while I think technology has done a lot to connect us, it also has allowed us to live more isolated lives in a lot of ways. So I think that
people
that personal
can hide in
connection is
silence.
huge.
People can
For
suffer
sure.
in silence you can put on, I joke all the time and tell my team, and I tell myself, don't show the highlight reel. Don't be that person. Don't be the person that just shows, I literally just did a post of this looks all together, but you should see what's behind me. It's a hot mess behind me. And it's okay. Don't be the person that just shows the good. Be real. People need to see more real in life. That's for sure. This whole internet thing is just, I love what you're doing, because I feel like people need to see it's okay to not be there yet. It's okay to want to start something and figure it out, and be encouraged by others that are doing the same. I'm there's going to be so many things I'm going to pull off of this, I'm sure.
Well, and that's, to me, that's the biggest thing, because I have had my thing that kind of launched me into this world of, I don't even know what you call it, entrepreneurship, side hustle, self improvement, whatever. My first thing that kind of launched me.
Service.
Yeah, that's right.
Service. Yeah.
But for me, it was I've always wanted to write a book, and I have a bunch of ideas of different books that I want to write. But for whatever reason in my mind, I always had this kind of false dichotomy that that's for the authors. I'm just a guy. I'm just a dad and a corporate employee. And sure, it'd be fun, but I can never really do it. And once I realized that the only thing keeping me from being a writer was actually writing, that just freed me up to be you know what, actually, I can do this. Yeah. And then I started talking, it's so crazy, Carrie. I started talking to other people in my network. So people at work, people at church, people kind of just in my normal social life. And I would share this with them, and they would open up and say, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Guess what? I just started a company. Or, hey, did you know I'm doing a podcast? And I'm just and we would just feed off of each other's energy, because all of the sudden there was this realization in me that this isn't just for the elites. This isn't just for some group that I'll never be a part of.
There?
That's right. Yeah.
How do you think they got there? They didn't start out there.
So to me, that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is bring on people like you who are just normal people, but who have had an idea or a goal or a thing that they wanted to do. And instead of just letting it sit on the shelf and collect dust, they rolled up their sleeves and they said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I'm going to learn along the way. I might have some stumbles, but I'm going to keep going. So I just love that, it's not that you haven't done your thing. Maybe it's just that you haven't done your thing yet. So let's encourage one another, and let's get excited about it, and let's get going. Right. I love that. So when we're talking about fitness, wellness, mental and physical, because a lot of people, I'm assuming, may have, this will launch early part of 24. So we might miss New Year's resolutions. Maybe we'll catch people.
A lot of people are going to miss New Year's, and it's okay. You don't have to wait. There's no time limit on when you start working on yourself. So here's my thought on New Year's.
I think it's awesome to capitalize on the momentum of New Year. Like if you have something you want to do, awesome, start it then. But if it's January 16th, you can still start on it then. Or if it's July 5th, guess what? That's a great time to start too. Like the best day to start doing your thing is today. Like you don't have to wait for the next, like, so anyway, but so back to the question. The question is for somebody who's realizing like, maybe like you, like I'm not feeling the joy that I want in my life. And my personal wellness is a big part of that. What advice or encouragement would you give to that person who's just starting out and maybe like they haven't stepped foot on a treadmill in decades, or they never were into being athletic. They don't move. They're just kind of, but they know it's important, and they think that this might be a path to helping them connect to some of that joy. What advice would you give to that person?
I hear this all the time in my groups that we have like calls, and I hear this all the time. And you know, when you get to my age and you start having parents that are older, you see it very differently. Health is wealth. You know, it's not something we have to do. It's something we get to do.
Yeah.
You get to move your body every day. I took that for granted for years and felt like it was a burden to have to do it. I felt like, you know, I focused on, you know, I have a husband who's very active and has to be for his job, and he wakes up and he works out. This man works out pretty much every morning, and he would blast music to try to like encourage me to want to join him. And I'm like, But I encourage you to find what works for you. Don't do what your best friend's doing if it doesn't make you happy. Don't do what Sally down the street's doing, or try it. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. There's so many options, right? Like I'm not a yoga person. One of my best friends teaches yoga, and I am like, good for you. Amazing. It's helped her life tremendously. Good for you. But that's not my thing, right? Like
Sure.
I have a cycle bike. I would have never thought cycling would be my thing. It is so my thing. Lifting weights, would have never guessed. So my thing. When I first started, this is so embarrassing, but I'm just going to be real with you. When I first started, it looked like I was convinced that the lady I signed up under could see if I was working out or not. Like she could track my progress. So literally hit play on the dance workout, and I would sit on the couch with a bag of chips and just be like, for me, it literally started by sitting on the couch and eating a bag of chips and watching the workout. And then I was like, that looks like fun. I could probably do that. Like no one's in the house. No one's watching me. So it doesn't have to look like anything. It can look like whatever it looks like for you, but just know you got to move. You have to move. If you have kids, don't make your kids worry about you long term. Like I used to think I wanted to be, and this is probably too much, I know it's PG, but like I wanted to be attractive for my husband. Like that was one of my, like I wanted to feel good and confident for my husband. I wanted to feel good going out and meeting friends and not flip out about what clothes I was going to throw on before and nitpick myself and pick myself apart in the mirror. And I sure as heck don't want to teach my girls to do that or my kids to do that. I just don't. You know, now it's about my parents are getting older, and I'm seeing things happen in their health that had they taken care of themselves, would it be an issue now? You know, and it's hard. I don't want my kids to feel like that about me. So it used to be about wanting to be like fit and toned. And now it's about, if mom doesn't work out, mom's going to be mean today. like mom's not going to be in a good place today. And if mom doesn't work out, mom's not going to feel proud of herself, because you build confidence through action. So literally, if you have to start with sitting on the couch with a bag of chips to watch the workout before you do it, be where you're at, but do something. Make an effort to change up something.
And that, by the way, I think that advice could apply to somebody who is not even in the wellness sphere. Like they're thinking about starting a business. Like, okay, start taking some steps. Start doing something.
You want to write a book?
See what
write
happens.
Down some things. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. No, I love that. We've talked a little bit about your journey, Carrie, but one of the things you mentioned along the way there was you talked about making your journey your job. So talk some about kind of how long did it take before you realized like, hey, maybe this is more than, maybe I want to be more than just a participant. Like when did you kind of make that transition, and what was that like for you going from, okay, this is something that I'm taking part in, to no, I want to maybe step in a little bit deeper and make it a more active kind of part of, you know, even job wise? Like how did you get there? What was that like for you?
You know, it's like anything. When you find something you like, it's like when you started this podcast and you started to connect with people, it's like, oh my gosh, other people feel like that too. And it makes you more excited about it, which helps you stay, because motivation, I don't think is a real thing. It helps you stay more disciplined. It helps you stay more connected to it, because you have that person checking in. Oh, how's the book going? How's the podcast going? It's like, oh, I need to work on that. I need to get to that, you know?
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I think that's how it started for me. It was like, oh, I'm doing this thing, and Ryan always told me if I moved my body, I would be happier. And I just thought he wanted me to be like cute. Like, I didn't know he actually meant it. I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah. Are you listening to me now? So, it's finding that community and realizing like, oh, there are other people that, well, she started here and look at where she's at now. And what if I could help somebody go from where I was at to where and so I invited a friend. She joined me. It turned into the Fit Fam crew. Had a friend join me, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because I saw her. She sent me a message one day, and she said, I put on the dress to go on the date today. I put on the dress, and she was so excited. And I was like, we were both so happy. And it filled my cup. And I was like, I know this sounds crazy, but you get that feeling, that stirring. Like, I've always wanted to do counseling. I love connecting with people. Even when I was a nail tech or when I worked at an orthodontist office, it wasn't the work I was doing. It was the people I was around that I got to connect with. And so I was like, this is my thing. This is my thing. I can be at home. It pushes me to focus on me because I am known to be a quitter, and I don't want to quit this because I don't want to quit on my kids. And it pushes me to show up for me. It helps me get other people to show up. I get to serve people. I get to connect with people. Like, it's a win-win. Why wouldn't I do it? It's like one of those, why not? Why wouldn't you?
That's so cool. Yeah. One of the things, I think I told you this before we jumped on the call, your social media is so encouraging. Like, and I'm not even
it's a hot mess, but
no, I mean, I feel like you're all like, it's so positive. And that to me is like, we talked about that earlier, like in the online world, there's so much negative out there.
Yeah.
But like, it's so refreshing to go to an account or to follow somebody who is just literally just trying to encourage. And like, that's what I hope this podcast becomes, an encouragement to people. And I love that about you. So keep doing that. We got to start wrapping things up here, but I have a couple of questions before we disconnect. First, I'm sure along the way, you've talked about kind of the network and mentorship and all the people that you've been involved with, but also I'm wondering if there are a couple of resources that you might recommend. So whether it's kind of fitness, wellness, mindset related, or just books, podcasts, things that have helped you, as you've been on your journey. And I know you sent me in the pregame email, you sent me a long list, which I'll publish and share out. But if you could just pick maybe like 2 or 3 resources, what would they be?
Mel Robbins, if you can do her book, her podcast, anything Mel Robbins. Brendon Burchard, like I said, Growth Day app. I actually am able to offer that through my platform. And so it's less than $1 a day. Totally worth it. Or just Google him and get all the free stuff you can. Just saying. He's great. I will say You Can Drop It by the nutritionist that I follow. Binge eating is a thing. It just is. I'm a binge eater, and that book gave me so much freedom to just kind of drop the guilt that I had and the shame that I had, and taught me tangible swaps and shifts. And if you follow my page, I've tried to share as many of those as I can because it sounds simple, but so many simple things make big differences. Yeah, Girls Stop Apologizing. I literally told Ryan I was sorry when I was buying the book. That's how bad I needed the book. So, yeah, that's another good one. Podcast, Brendon Burchard. For moms, Feeding the Mouth That Bites You. Oh, man, good podcast. Jesus Calling. I love that book. It's simple. It's always relevant. You can literally watch it or read it every year, and it's still great. I think that's all.
That's a good list. That's a good list.
There's
Thanks.
Lots of things. I love podcasts. I'm like a junkie. So I'm so excited you're doing this. I'm like, yes.
I've
already sent it to all my friends. I'm like, follow this dude. He's great.
Awesome. Keep sending it. I appreciate that. Last question. Speaking of following people, how do people get in touch with you? So maybe they want to follow your social media. Maybe they're ready to join a Fit Fam or something like it. How do people get in touch with you? Website, social, give us all the links.
So I'm better on Facebook. I'll be real with you, but I do have Instagram. And then if you find me, it's Carrie Murphy 24 on Facebook. And I have a Linktree app in there. If you click on that, you can literally try sample workouts if you want. You can try, like I was talking about I call it my happy mama juice. I literally do it to work out or to just get laundry done. No lie. But yeah, that's a great way to find me.
Okay, great. And I'll post a link when we publish this episode so folks can access that quickly and easily as well. Carrie, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I always enjoy talking with you. Tell Ryan I said hi, and
I will.
We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, TC.
Thank you to the so many people who have listened and rated and reviewed the shows. I really appreciate all the encouragement you've sent my way, and please keep it coming. If you have questions or guests you think I should bring on, I would love to connect. You can send me an email at yetpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram, it's yetpodcast, and please rate and review the show on Apple and Spotify. It means so much, and it helps other people connect with these great stories, encouragements, tips, and ideas. I want to read to you a review that I got recently from Brittany R. She says, "Just press play. This is a good one. Awesome podcast with very good practical tips and encouragement to get going with your goals and ideas." Thank you so much, Brittany, and thanks to you for listening to this week's episode. Until next time, keep working on your goals, and I'll see you soon.